like what would be a shame 5 years from now if it, if it, you look up 5 years, like, oh, this didn't happen in 5 years. Oh, that was a shame. That's everything was lined up for it and it just didn't happen. So do you want to start things off, Trish?
Sure. It would be a shame if we don't have newborn screening being implemented in 5 years, um, because we know that it is just going to have a huge benefit. And I mean specifically genomic newborn screening, of course. We just know that getting that early diagnosis is going to make all the difference in the world to those families. And that's what I'm passionate about. I'm a genetic counselor by training, and so I innately am a patient advocate, and that's why I'm on the market access side of the business. Is I want to ensure that people get access to these life-saving technologies. And so we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that genomic newborn screening is a reality for as many people within 5 years as possible.
Yeah, and maybe just to add on to that, Trish, what you were saying, I mean, a similar theme, but I think it would be a shame if all individuals, no matter how old, if they're a baby, if they're an adult, and they're experiencing these symptoms, that are unexplained, if they don't have access to whole genome sequencing at that, time where their symptoms are starting, that would be a true shame, because we know that by, identifying and diagnosing these patients early, it really does, impact their long-term healthcare outcomes. It reduces burden on the healthcare systems. It is, more cost effective. And there's even, as Trish mentioned earlier, the recent clinical report that came out from the American Academy of Pediatrics, and I really commend them for paving the way. Like, all clinicians should be thinking about genetics, for whatever patients they're seeing in their practice, because genetics is part of the DNA and it can affect any organ system or any, multiple organ systems. And so for every specialty out there, I think, in 5 years, I would love it for every clinician to feel empowered to order genetic testing for their patients that have unexplained symptoms.
Great, 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 great. I was kind of surprised that you didn't mention, but I'll mention it here just because it's such a huge part of the Guardian study. Was there's a very, very I think quite a large focus on making sure that the test is accessible to people of all backgrounds, both from an ethnic perspective and I assume from an income perspective. That seemed to be something that was quite important for at least not just yourselves, but all the consortium of individuals that actually take part in this project.
Yes, 100%. Totally agree there. And I think that's also very critical for GeneDx's mission as well, is making sure all patients, no matter where you come from, no matter what your background is, that you have access to this type of really critical and essential clinical care. We've been really, forefront here, even ahead of when Medicaid, state Medicaid has mandated, or sorry, I don't, the correct terminology, Trish, that's more in your wheelhouse, but, Medicaid has approved and said that, they'll cover whole genome sequencing and whole exome sequencing for patients with these rare conditions. GeneDx was accepting patients that had Medicaid and really didn't have access to services, a decade ago. And so what that means is that out of these 850,000 individuals we've been sequencing with exome and genome, we have a very diverse database of all, different socioeconomic backgrounds, different genetic ancestries. And it's really more reflective of the diverse nature of the US population.